They have not looked at any of the items below that are still on our recommendation, but that were not a high priority, but still needed to be considered if we didn't have enough money in making the cuts. So that's a problem that we hopefully will have. We have one more one more budget committee meeting March 4th, where we will once again try to explain to them that they can go deeper into the list that we made. And I'll point out that the administrative list adopted many of our recommendations from the committee, but not all of them. And they also accepted some that were on the negative side. At the last board meeting, there was an item for the part-time health techs at the elementary schools. That was an item that our budget committee, only 5 people supported, 12 people opposed, yet administration took that one and recommended it to the board. So there's an inconsistency. There are items that were negative on the list that are not being considered, that we recommend being considered, but there are items down there that we voted against because they're down lower on the priority, but admin accepted them, so why not look at them all? We think the entire list, top to bottom, should be looked at, and we are going to have to go back, because one thing the administration recommendation did was take our recommendations and modify them in their own version and then recommend it to the board, which the board is accepting. We have to go back and look at whether or not the administrative version meets what the budget committee recommended. There's also a new language that's come out from the governor. For instance, the governor in his latest proposal, his latest add-on cuts for this next year, he wanted administrative cuts. So we have to go back and look at, does our current board proposal meet the governor's threshold for percentages in administrative services and so on? And if so, fine. If not, then we need to dig deeper into administrative cuts as opposed to where the cuts are going currently. Let me start at the end and work backwards. Are we done? Absolutely not. We have a meeting scheduled on March 4th where we will again review the current budget proposal that's going to be moving forward. At the last board meeting, they pulled a couple of items off, adding $500,000, around somewhere around $500,000, that Donna Caperton and the committee have to come up with to fill the gap that they've now created, even in their latest plan. But again, the committee is going to be ongoing, so we're going to meet anyway, but we have until June on this particular budget crisis and budget proposal, and we have much to do. We believe there are a number of things that have not been looked into yet, the number of items below the line that Dr. Lilly has said that were covered but are not covered. But we'll continue to meet. We have had meetings called by members of the committee, and I think that may be happening. We have one scheduled by the district, but I think at the next meeting we may ask for, our members may ask for more meetings to take place so we can look at it in more detail. We have the governor's proposal on the administrative cuts where we have to check and make sure that we meet the state's threshold for administrative cuts, which right now is in question. We need to make sure that the district's proposal on the current administrative cuts that the budget committee made, but the district administrators made modifications to, we need to make sure that that meets with the budget committee's proposal. So there's a number of things, detailed things that we need to do. Do we believe that they've gone deep enough into the budget? No. That's going to be difficult to pry out of them, but we think that there's more that can be gotten, more reserves that can be tapped into. And there's also one other thing. This is a work in progress. It is not, in the last 3 or 4 years that we've been going through this, sometimes new legislation comes down. Sometimes what we've found, and Ron Fier addressed this at the last board meeting, sometimes we've found when it gets down to May and June, they do the May revise of the budget, the state realizes how draconian they've been, so they soften it or open up other areas we can go into to get monies, or sometimes lessen the amount we have to have. So this will go on through the May revise and into June for our committee's purpose, and possibly into the summer as new revenues are going to be understood from the state. Thank you very much. The BAC report is important, and it does go to the superintendent and the school board for considerations. It is advisory, so it is under consideration. They don't have to do that, but they consider our conversations we've had on those subjects. We, by contract, have the right to submit a VTA minority report, and this has turned out to be very critical to the whole process, because it's, as the administration gets their presentation, it gives another view to the board for consideration. We're allowed to criticize some of the recommendations that are being brought forward. We're able to bring out some of the recommendations that we believe are being overlooked. We're also able to support very strongly some of the recommendations that we think need to really be emphasized from the committee, so they get included in the consideration. So it's a very important process. We put it in a number of years ago. Some of the things that have come from it, 3 years ago, the Budget Committee recommended that it be an ongoing committee. That got lost in the presentation, and last year's Budget Committee again brought it up, but we brought it up in our minority report. And then in our subsequent minority report, we were able to point out again that the board had shown some a lack of following up on that recommendation, so they finally did put it in. We are an ongoing committee today. It's actually in the bylaws that way, as an ongoing committee. So that was good. Also, in this year, we in the minority report felt that, when I say we, the VTA representatives, felt that we had not tapped into all the reserves that were available to us. And in case in point, our last budget committee meeting, we were presented a number that was going to go to the board. We pointed out in our minority report that they were overlooking some critical reserves to the tune of $9.3 million. And when it got to the actual board presentation, they did tap into that $9.3 million and spread it out. So we have $3 million this year, next year, and the following years that are being tapped into. So the minority report is read by the board members, the superintendent, the financial officers. We get phone calls the next day. They see where the teachers are coming from. We're able to, again, show our voice in that whole budget making process. Thank you very much. Great question. I want to thank you for the questions that you've been submitting. It's very important. Sometimes those of us that serve on these committees or in leadership, executive board, sometimes we forget that not everybody knows what's going on, that may not know the expertise and questions, and hopefully you have a little more confidence in what we're doing and know that we're working for you. We need you to continue asking the questions so we can answer those. The work that you're doing, the rallies that we're having, all the representations of our frustrations with the district are working, helping the bargaining team. We need your support. This is the critical time. It's between now and all the way through June that we can still make a difference, and everything that you do, every question you ask, every board meeting you go to, every black shirt that you wear on Thursdays, every bit of protest, every bit of concern is all putting pressure on to have them look more deeply. That's our goal, is get them to look more deeply into where the budget cuts are going to be made and prioritize. We believe it begins in the classroom, with kids in the classroom and a teacher in that classroom with them. From there, you build outward. And it's our job to get them to understand that and make the cuts as far away from the classroom as we possibly can. And we can't do that without you. So thank you very much.